Hey guys, welcome back. So from the title of the video, you probably know what I'm going to talk about, especially if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook. You've probably seen quite a few pictures, but I just got back from Paris, France a few days ago, about a week ago as of today. I went there with my mom and my little sister. We went for originally for a week, but ended up staying for 2 weeks. I'll explain that a little bit later. And I actually have a little bit of footage to put together, kind of like a mini travel vlog. I didn't take too much on my phone. Mom took quite a bit on her phone for like kind of B-roll stuff and showing me like going into places. So I'll try to put together something for you guys, just to kind of show you what we did each day. But for today, I just want to talk about kind of like the trip and what we did and how it went and kind of like my point of view on certain things. So first off, the flight over to Paris was kind of okay. We had a bit of mix-up with our plane tickets. We booked everything, and then like midnight before we left, they emailed and said that the flight had been canceled because flight crew didn't show up and everything. So mom was up late, and she called and rebooked us some tickets. Well, we got around and got to the airport, and by the time we got our bags checked, the lady at the checkout counter said that we were too late for our flight. So we stood there for probably half hour while she rebooked us tickets. We didn't get the seats we originally booked or like the area in the plane that we originally booked, but at least we got there, so that's what was important. So on the way out, we flew from Boise, Idaho. We flew to LA, switched planes there, and then we flew from LA to Chicago. And then from Chicago to Paris, we were on the big Dreamliner. I think it was like 787, something like that. So it was super comfortable. It was kind of an overnight flight. So we got dinner and slept for a bit. But by the time we got to Paris, I was extremely happy to get off the airplane. Because for me, flying is not comfortable in the slightest. Getting on and off of the airplanes, using the aisle chairs. I mean, the people are super awesome. They're really careful with me. They make sure I'm comfortable. They make sure I'm safe. It's just the aisle chair itself is ridiculous. Like, it's crazy how uncomfortable it is. But at least mom didn't have to carry me on and off the plane. She was able to focus on getting our carry-on bags and taking care of Emily and helping her. So that was nice. So the day we landed in Paris, we landed there, I think it was like 8 or 9 o'clock local time, so it was like 1 a.m. our time. So we were exhausted from the flight in the first place, plus it was like late, according to our body clocks. So one of the attendants who helped transfer me off the plane, he stuck with us the entire time. He walked us through customs and getting our luggage and everything. When we got to the airport, my luggage that was checked, the bag shattered. I'll put a picture up here, but it looks like something heavy fell on it and just broke my entire suitcase. But luckily, the airline was super cool, and they gave me a new bag, free of charge. Nice big soft side suitcase. So once we got everything transferred from that suitcase, we went ahead and went through customs and got out of the airport. And the guy that was with us, he went to the taxi area and translated for us and got us to taxi. So from the airport to our hotel, it was probably like 35 minutes or so in the taxi itself. And when we got to the hotel, it was kind of funny because he pulled up on the street and let mom and Emily out and unpacked our bags and everything. And I thought he was just going to let me out in the street and I would just drive around two of the cars to get to the corner curb cutout. And he was like, "Oh, no, I'll take you to the door." So he went up and around the block and came back around and actually drove up on the sidewalk. Like, his car fit barely between the two metal posts on the corner curb cutout and drove right up and stopped right in front of the hotel door. So it was like, door-to-door service, which was nice. And so once we got to our hotel, we stayed at the Hotel Gaston. It was actually really nice. I mean, for what it was, I feel it was extremely worth it, considering where we stayed later on in our trip. In France, I think all of the accessible hotel rooms are on the ground floor, which I get on an accessibility viewpoint. but for comfort of stay, I don't think it's really the best. Because our room was like right beside the lobby, and even though it had two doors, like there was one security door, a little like what do you call it, like a entry area, and then the hotel room door. Um, it's still like we could still hear people in the lobby. The wall wasn't really that well insulated, so we could hear like the people walking behind the front desk and all that stuff. And then also when we showed up in our room, being on the ground floor, there's like a metal security shutter over the window. So it was broken, so we couldn't open the shutter, so we just didn't get any daylight in the room. Which I guess is okay on one level because we weren't really in the room all that much. But it just would have been nice to be able to open it and see out and stuff like that when we had our down days to kind of relax. So when I booked the hotel, I booked it for, it's in the 17th arrondissement. It's kind of like the northwestern area of Paris. A really quiet, like more of a residential area. Not a whole lot going on, but still, it was just super comfortable, super cool. We felt really safe. And we explored the neighborhood. We walked a lot. And unbeknownst to me, when I booked it, a friend of mine pointed out that actually the metro station, just like a couple minutes from the hotel, is on the only wheelchair accessible metro line, which is Metro Line 14, which turned out to be massively helpful. So that way, when we wanted to shoot across Paris really fast, we just took like, I think it was like a 5 or 6 minute walk to the metro station, go down, get on the 14, and just shoot straight across. So going along with accessibility of the hotel room, I think accessibility is a loose term. Like for the room, I could just get inside the door, and that's about it. I had like a little area that my chair could park by the bed. So it was fine for what we used it for, but I mean, it could have definitely been better, a little bit more room. The bathroom was amazing. I mean, probably the best accessible bathroom I've ever seen. Super barrier free, really nice. Although I never used the shower, I'm not really comfortable having someone holding me onto a little shower bench while trying to shower me at the same time. It just doesn't feel very safe to me. The bathroom was super nice. And I think when we go back, I would stay there again. I mean, if there's really no other options, I would definitely stay at the Gaston again. Transportation-wise, we mostly used the buses. I used Google Maps to kind of figure out which buses we need and where to go. All of the buses were accessible, super easy to use. The only issue for me is if I was to go somewhere by myself or, well, really anybody with a disability or in a wheelchair, if you can't raise your arm and flag down the driver and point that you need the ramp, they'll just take off without you. So each time we went to the bus stop, Mom would have to wave them down, point to me, and then they would wave and let the ramp out and all that. And then also when you need off the bus, there's a button beside you that you have to push to let them know that you want off on the next stop. So for me, like, I can't really push that button, so I need someone to travel with me. And then also, a lot of the drivers weren't really that nice. Some of them asked where we wanted off, and they'd remember and let us off, but then other ones just didn't care. But overall, the bus system is accessible. It gets you a lot of places. It's not the fastest, but it's still really usable, and I liked using it. Another transportation thing we used was the train. We actually used 2 different trains. One day we went out to Versailles, and we used the regular train, I guess. It left from Saint-Lazare station, and it was one of the above ground trains. Super nice, super modern, really comfortable. And then the second time we used the train was the RER, and we used RERC, and it was horrid. I do not recommend the RERs because they're like a double-decker train, so when you get on it, you either step down steps to go to the bottom level of seating, or you go up some stairs to the upper level. And so for a wheelchair, you sit basically in the doorway. You're in the way the entire time, and it's not exactly comfortable. And then also when the doors open and close, I mean, you just get that blast of cold air. Something else I noticed about the accessibility of the trains is in order to board and disembark the train, you have to book ahead of time with the special services at the station that you want to leave from. And that portion was never fully explained to me. We never figured it out. I asked and they said it used an app. Well, the app I could never find in the App Store. They really never gave me a phone number or anything. So the couple times that we used it, we just went straight to a desk. They were kind of annoyed we didn't book ahead, but we still got on the train. And so yeah, I could go way more into depth on that issue. But at least we got on and off the train safely. Everybody was super nice, like the people that helped us get on and off, the people that handled the ramps and all that stuff. So during our 2 weeks there, we kind of took it slow. We didn't get up till late. It took us a while to get kind of used to the sleeping schedule. I think the one that had the hardest time was Emily. She didn't really want to wake up until like noon Paris time, even though she had slept all night, everything. I adjusted pretty quickly. I'm very much like I look at the clock and I can wake up whenever. But we started out, the first thing we went out and saw was the Sacre-Cœur. And it's if you don't know, it's the big church at the top of Montmartre. And it was gorgeous. I mean, a lot of things like you see on TV, you see on different YouTube videos, and you're like, oh, that's pretty, or oh, that's nice, whatever. But then you don't get the full effect until you see it in person. And I mean, everything in Paris is just massive and overwhelmingly beautiful. So when we went up to Sacre-Cœur, we took the bus, and then from our bus station, we had to walk, it was a few blocks, to the base of the funicular. We got on the funicular and rode that up. Oh, it was a ways up the hill, kind of to the base of Sacre-Cœur. And then from there, there's steps up to the church itself. Well, I can't do the steps. So for me to get up there, we had to drive around this, it's like a half circle kind of road. And it was kind of a nightmare because it's all cobblestones. The road, the sidewalk, everything. So for me, it was slow going, but I made it. And then once we got up to the top of the hill, it was just more cobblestones around the front of the church. And I was pretty well shaken. Like, I feel like my brains might have been scrambled by the time we were done looking around that area. But we did go up and we took pictures inside the front of it and the outside, and then we made our way around the back side to the accessible entrance, which is not very well signposted. Like, we wandered for a few minutes trying to find where we were supposed to go, and the gate we were supposed to go through wasn't marked, except for like a little white sign that was in French that we just happened to like luck out and see. But we just pushed the button and the person rang us through the gate, took us through the side building, up an elevator, and then we had to walk across this enclosed bridge over into the church itself. I didn't get any footage that day on my phone. Mom got quite a bit. So I'll try to add that into the next video. The next thing that we went to see was the Eiffel Tower. That was a really fun day. We got off on the wrong bus stop. Our bus went a little bit too far, so we had to walk back, which wasn't too bad. We got some really good pictures of the Eiffel Tower from the opposite direction. The people that helped us at the tower were super helpful, super amazing. A guy actually met us at the gate and was like, here, follow me. And he took us through and showed us the accessible route to the elevator and got us on the elevator like ahead of everybody else. And even though the top of the tower is closed for renovations, we were still able to go up to the second level, which is high enough for me. I have a little bit of a hard time with heights. But by the time we got up there, it was like sunset. It was perfect. I mean, the pictures were beautiful. The sky was like this purpley orange color. I'll try to insert some pictures here that I got. It was really cold because you're up there. There's nothing really blocking the breeze. And then they leave all the doors open, so there's really no warm spaces inside the tower. And then we finally made our way down and across to find our bus stop and headed back to the hotel and got like a late dinner. While in Paris, Uber Eats has been our best friend. I mean, I lost count of how many orders I made through them. But it was really easy for us. That way we could just order our food. It was brought to the hotel. We didn't have to worry about trying to find someplace accessible or someplace that I could like get to easily. It was just brought to us and it was perfect. So after the Eiffel Tower, we went back a second time because there's a carousel at the base of the tower. Well, it's kind of across the street from it. Emily really wanted to ride it, so we went back a second day to kind of explore that area a little bit more and ride the carousel. And we also went and saw the Arc de Triomphe. It isn't accessible at all for me, so we just kind of walked around. I think it's Charles de Gaulle Etoile is the name of the circle that it's in. So we just kind of walked around and took pictures of it from all different angles. And we read up, because I heard that it was accessible, but while we were there, we read that there's no elevator to it, that the only way to get to it with a wheelchair is to ride a tour bus. But then when you're actually at the Arc, the elevator, you have to walk up 2 steps to get to the elevator, which doesn't really make any sense. So we kind of marked that off our list of things to go see. So after that bit of sightseeing, Emily was kind of tired with our version of neat things to see. So we decided to go and do something fun for her. And we went to the Paris Aquarium, which is in the Trocadero area. And it was actually really cool. I enjoyed myself a lot. But I like aquariums in the first place. So we went in. It wasn't really hard to find the elevators, kind of tucked around the corner. But once you're inside the aquarium itself, it was really neat because you go underground 1 level, and then as you're looking at the different exhibits, the floor slightly slopes. So you actually go down like another level or 2 until you get to the very bottom. And then for me to get back to the elevator, we had to go all the way back through the whole aquarium to get to the elevator. So after that, we had kind of a down day. We just relaxed at the hotel, ordered in some food, Mom took a nap, Emily played on her iPad, and we just kind of relaxed and decompressed a little bit more before our next few days of sightseeing, because we knew that the next thing was going to be a lot. And so we went over to the Louvre. And a lot of videos I watched said that the Louvre takes days to see. Like, when you go, you really have to know what you want to see and just kind of make a beeline for those things. We didn't listen to that advice. We just started walking, and we only got through the Egyptian exhibit the first day, and that was like 4 hours. I don't think it would have taken quite as long, but we had to do a lot of backtracking because the elevator that takes you from one side of the exhibit to the other was broken, so we had to go all the way back through basically to the information desk area to get another elevator to go around the other way. But we finally made it through the whole exhibit, saw the mummy and all that kind of stuff. And by the time we were done with that, we were beat, so we left. We headed back to the hotel and recouped for the next day. We went to the Louvre the second day, and we went directly to the Mona Lisa. I mean, that's what we wanted to go see in the first place. Luckily, we were on the elevator. A lady asked us where we were going. We told her, and she took us right to it. There was quite a line to like get up to see the painting, but for me, it was really cool. They just lifted up a rope, and me and Mom and Emily got to be right in front of the painting, like less than 5 feet from it. So we got some good video and pictures. We got to stand there as long as we wanted, while everyone else had to like move along. Sorry, battery died. Had to switch the battery on that. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, the Mona Lisa. So after the Mona Lisa, we went through some of the other rooms of paintings, saw some things from like medieval times, some like up to like the 1700s-ish. And then as we were coming through one room, I saw a sign that said Venus de Milo. And I was like, I have to see that while we're here. So we asked for directions, and they took us around. But they said the Venus de Milo was around a way that included a lot of stairs. So once again, we had to backtrack, and it took us a while to get to it. But we actually saw the Venus de Milo up close. And on our way, we also saw one of my favorite statues, which is Cupid. I think it's called Cupid Reanimating Psyche. And after we got done seeing like the Greek and Roman statues, we got lost. We were trying to find a way out of that area, and the maps they provide aren't exactly helpful. So we got lost and we wasted probably like an hour. But we were smart that day, and we had lunch between paintings and statues. And again, we spent probably 4 or 5 hours there and still didn't see everything we wanted to see. So after the Louvre, the last big thing that we wanted to see while we were there was Versailles. And as I said, the first day was on the really nice train. We went out. The bus driver was super cool. He couldn't get the ramp out at the actual bus stop itself, so he pulled around the corner to a really low spot, got me out. Really awesome. And Versailles was probably my favorite part of the trip, besides the cobblestones again. It's cobblestones from the street all the way up to the palace. But once we got inside, there was a limited art exhibition thing going on right now. It's called The Animals of the King. It was kind of interesting, all the different paintings, and they had some of the artifacts and stuff like that. But I much rather would have seen the rooms themselves. So once we got through that installation thing, we got to the actual palace rooms, and we got to see the king's apartments, the queen's apartments, the Hall of Mirrors, and some other rooms. And we actually stayed there until it was pretty much closed. We were probably like one of the last few people to leave the palace, and a guy helped us, so we went through a back room, down an elevator, and out through the basement. And on the way back from Versailles that first day, I didn't record anything, and neither did Mom. It was just way too stressful. But we got on a bus, and it was the wrong bus. Well, he didn't drop us at our stop that we wanted, because we were just going to go around to a different train station and catch the same train back. Well, he went way up the road, like almost a half a mile, and let us off at that stop, so we had to walk back to our original stop and then to the train station. Well, by the time we got to the train station, we realized that that station was not accessible, really. The guy that worked in there had no idea what to do. He had no idea how to get a wheelchair on the train. So we spent quite a bit of time using our translators on my phone and his phone, and he was calling multiple people to try to figure out how to get me on the train that was coming through. And then by the time everything got figured out and they sent a ramp from a different station, somebody called him and said, hey, there's a ramp in the locker meant for these purposes. And so I guess it was a learning experience for him, and it was a bit of a learning experience for us not to go to the wrong station. But eventually we got on the train, got back to our hotel, and everything was cool. So, and then the second day that we went to Versailles, like I say, we took the RER, and that's because we were in a different hotel. I'll touch back to that in a second. But we were in a different hotel in the southeast side of town, and we had to leave from the Bibliothèque station. So we got on the RER there and rode around to Versailles, and that let us out at a different train station than we were let out before. It was a little bit closer to the palace, which was kind of nice. But again, the cobblestones about beat me to death, and we went and saw the gardens. That's just what we went directly to. We took lots of pictures and a little bit of video, I think Mom did. But to kind of cut it short, we went to one specific garden. We watched the movie called A Bit of Chaos with Kate Winslet. I've seen it, I don't know, countless times. And the garden that she built in the movie is based on a real garden at the palace. So we went to see that one specifically, and it was beautiful. It was way better than the one they built for the movie. Mom has a little bit of video. I think I took a couple pictures. But then after we saw that, it was really cold, and so we decided to head back. And the second day of Versailles was actually our last day in Paris. So we went back to the hotel, did our COVID tests, and flew out the next morning. The flight home was a little more comfortable than the flight over because we actually got the seats that we booked. We sat in Economy Plus on United, so we got better blankets, better pillows, more comfortable seats. The food was really good. I actually enjoyed the food. You always hear about people complaining about airline food. I thought it was alright. So on the way home, I slept for about 4 hours on the plane and then watched a couple movies. We transferred in Chicago again. That was an adventure because when you come back from France, you go through customs. That takes a little bit. And then instead of just transferring luggage in my wheelchair from one airplane to the next, everything has to be like taken off and then rechecked. So that took up a lot of time getting our luggage and getting my chair rechecked and everything. And then on the way home, we flew from Chicago to Denver and then from Denver to Boise. Through the whole trip, my chair did fine. Like, there was no damage, no worries at all. Everybody was super awesome, except for when we landed in Boise, somewhere between Chicago and Boise, the little knob on my drive control disappeared, so I couldn't drive my chair, and then my left lateral got bent, which, I mean, we just bent it back into place. But I mean, for that long of a trip and that many transfers, I'd say that's pretty good for, damage-wise, I guess you could say. I'm also going to be putting together a video of some of the things that I use to travel, some things that I have learned from watching Squirmy and Grubs, and then just a couple things that I kind of came up with myself to make my flights more comfortable. I'll share those in a different video. So the reason our trip to Paris was extended from 1 week to 2 weeks was I originally booked flights and a hotel to Dublin from Paris because it's just like an hour and 50-minute flight, something like that. And I have a friend in Dublin who I really wanted to see, and he wasn't able to come to Paris because of COVID. Well, like a couple days before we were due to fly out to Dublin, Aer Lingus emailed me and said that my wheelchair was too heavy for their plane. And so I looked it up and saw the size of the airplane that the flight was on, and noticed that it was a 737, which is bigger than the two airplanes that we flew on between Boise and Chicago, and then also from Chicago back to Boise, and they had no problems with my wheelchair at all. So I got a hold of them, explained that, and they were like, well, that's just our policy, so they canceled my flight and gave me a refund, and so cut our trip that way. So that's kind of why we extended our trip into Paris. And then after extending our hotel stay at Hotel Gaston, the last 2 days were booked out already, so we had to switch hotels, and we went to the Choice Hotels Versailles, I think. It's over by the Bibliothèque François Mitterrand, and the room was nice. It was way bigger. It wasn't an accessible room though, which was fine. But I wouldn't stay in that area again. Just the area itself was not comfortable. I didn't really like it. But it was near the same metro station that Line 14 comes through. So that was fine because it was still easy access to everything. So anyways, guys, that's kind of a quick overview of my trip to Paris. So hopefully I'll get those other videos up once Mom gets down here, because all the footage is on her phone and I need to airdrop it. She tested positive for COVID like the day after we got back, so she's been dealing with that. Luckily I didn't catch it. I've been fine, no problems at all. But yeah, once she gets over that and she's able to come back down and I can get the footage off of her phone, I will start getting those videos edited for you. And also, if you have any questions about my trip specifically, please feel free to ask them down in the comments, and I will either answer them in the comments or I'll make another video kind of explaining things a little bit more. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching if you made it all the way to the end. Please give me a thumbs up if you liked the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.